Y'all, welcome back to the show, which I'm still in the middle of a rebrand and haven't renamed. There are some potential prospects. What was the William Arthur Show will be re-identifying as something else when the time is right. Not the most important aspect to be communicating here. What is important is that I'm here with three amazing brothers, which I've gotten to know throughout the years at various phases, and I respect you all very much and very grateful for this moment in time for us to come together, create, and share our journeys and what we've been through and our unique wisdom that we've cultivated throughout our lives. Today, we are going to be discussing men's mental health, which I find an incredibly relevant topic considering the staggering statistics that are currently present within our society. I'm not sure the exact numbers. I just know that male suicide rates are profoundly higher than that of females, and men are much more likely to be addicted to substances and display antisocial behaviors. And really, just as a society as a whole, even if you're a female listening to this, of course, this will be relevant as well, as we all go through things and we're all, facing internal battles in various seasons of our life. So I wanted to bring these powerful men together to have a discussion about, what's occurring in our personal experiences with mental health and, the things we've been through, the things we've witnessed others go through, and just illuminate the conversation around it. Because right now, more than ever, we need leaders stepping up to share their voice, our powers in our voice, our perspectives, and our wisdom and our direct experience with these particular things. And your story, our story, could save another human's life. And that's definitely one of the main intentions for the direction of today's show, to share our individual stories with what's occurred and what we've witnessed, as I stated. And one thing that comes to mind for me right now is two people from Rob and I's hometown, one which we were very close with growing up, and another which we are indirectly connected to, Cedarburg being a very small suburban town of about 12,000 people, have both taken their lives, one very recently and then one earlier this year. So that has lit a fire under my ass, and also me being someone who has been in the darkness, been in the depths, and I know we all have to a certain degree. And with that, we all have our own unique medicine to share. So first and foremost, I'm your boy Wild Bill. Introduce yourselves, my friends. Robster Lobster, say what's up.
Robster Lobster, the nickname coined is, I don't know where it even came from. So, it's a great topic to be on because of my personal experience as well with hit the anniversary of a close friend who took his own life 4 years ago, another friend who took his life 6 years ago. Something that I've been around, something I've seen, and it hurts to know that a lot of other men are going through it, and grateful to see you guys stepping up and putting in the effort to talk about it, to work with what you're going through, and help others out with it. And here to flow with the conversation and let people know that it's not something we need to hide from. It's something we can embrace, and something that's okay to be talking about, and that it's okay to not be okay from time to time, because it will pass. But that's my introduction.
Thank you, Robster. Mr. Zach.
Zach here, and I'm first just really grateful to have this conversation, to be here. Feels like a little men's circle, we're gathering around the fire and just sharing from our heart what's coming up. So first, want to express that gratitude to be in this space and to have this opportunity to share this moment with you all also. And for me, it's very important. It this awareness around men's healing really started with myself having an ayahuasca journey where in that night I had so much revelation around the importance of this. I remember just crying the whole night, like, and I also realized that as a man I didn't have the opportunity to just express that, like, sadness and cry. And it was the first time I really let it go. And since then, I've known that this is something that is a part of my life mission, something that's really important. Me being embodied as a man to heal myself and also support other men in their path of healing. So, yeah, I'm really grateful to share and be in this little men's circle right now.
Absolutely, bro.
Yeah.
Happy to have you.
What up, y'all? Ryan, super excited to be here in Richmond with these guys, and been looking forward to this. And yeah, this conversation is real important. This is one of the ways that we connected, all three of us or all four of us, was through men's work. And yeah, having this conversation is just important because you were saying we've all been in some depth, in darkness and moving through it. And from my experience, when I've been able to move through it and just be seen by other men is what helps me keep going, not relying on them to be fixing me or anything, but to just be seen in the process of whatever I'm going through. And I think that's an importance of this conversation, is to release that stigma of it all, and to be like, okay, you're human, we're all full spectrum, and we get it, we get it all. So I'm excited.
Let's fucking go. So we're getting it. Unfortunately, Robster Lobsters, I hope his introduction got picked up on one of your mics. Somehow the lavalier, technical difficulties. This is my first foray. I don't know about you guys, but we got a lot of technology. First foray with men I love and I respect. Like, what a
Yeah, I mean, I've had plenty of forays with men that I don't love and respect, so it's the first.
How lucky are we? So yeah, just to paint the picture of where we are, we're in Richmond, Virginia. We are so fortunate to be here right now and to be preparing ourselves for the Enlifted experience. And I feel a great place to start would be to express some of the trials and tribulations, some of the fire walks we've walked ourselves, some of the darkness we've been through, what showed up for us in terms of inner battles and what we've had to face, our inner demons, because that shows up for everyone, and especially for men. Most men they don't have safe spaces to go to. They don't have other men or to show up in a circle with, to show up around a fire with, to truly express where they're at, be seen and accepted and loved for, where they are, obviously being inherently lovable, worthy individuals. And that's fuel on the fire for worsening things, of course. And many men don't have the wherewithal, the understanding of how to express themselves. So that's another intention for me today, is to recognize that these things are completely normal and inherent in the human experience. Whether it's a specific, mental health ailment, whether it's insecurity, whether it's addiction, all these different things. So many of us bump up against these challenges, and a lot of us hide it because we don't feel like it's okay to be that. We deem ourselves unworthy on an unconscious level because we're experiencing these things and because they're showing up, when that's absolutely not the case. So for me, throughout my life, I got involved in drugs and alcohol quite young, around age 13, started smoking cannabis, started drinking alcohol being very deeply ingrained in Wisconsin culture and U.S. culture as a whole. And that's where a lot of repression and suppression of my emotions began. At first, it being something I sought after for fun, and then something I used as a crutch to avoid what was coming up within me. So ultimately, that led to a massive internal pressure within myself and led to many other issues: depression, anxiety, lack of emotional evolution and my ability to express and feel my emotions, because I constantly push things away through these mind-altering substances, and that impacted my relationships. And then there was loneliness, and then there's so much disconnection that comes with all that, and then ultimately just a feeling of being super lost. And I grew up without a father, so I didn't have any sort of, I had some role models around me, but none of any depth, and no men to really show me how to walk in a way where I could feel free as a man and learn how to like share these things with others. And I remember I went to therapy once, court ordered, and it was this lady named Joy, and it just like, it did not work at all. The only specific memory I have of this, a mental health professional, which is important we say for the current state of affairs of where maybe many mental health professionals are at, but I told her what I wanted to do. I wanted to be an artist. I wanted to be a jewelry maker. And what she told me, she was a straight dream crusher. She told me that, you know how hard that would be. That was the seed she planted in my mind. So just to paint the picture of like how I was misguided, what I didn't have, and ultimately I'm very grateful for this path, which has led me to where I am, and to being right here right now with you guys, and into Enlifted, and into personal development work and men's work and emotional work, because right now we need this shit. As I had stated earlier in the show, the staggering mental health statistics, and really, you know, what's happening in our society as a whole with mental and emotional well-being, when really it's interesting because it's all about coming back to the basics. So obviously there's so much more there to unpack. I'll just leave it at that for now. I'm going to pass it to Robster Lobster again. If there's anything there for you want to share about your journey in terms of challenges you've bumped up against and things that have been hard for you and challenging that you feel would be important for someone to hear, and because, you know, we all can relate over these sorts of things.
Yeah, I mean, not really a specific moment comes up. It's just over the years of realizing that as a kid, with like the adult men I've had in my own life, is showing to just like be a man up, and like that was always just, you know, why are you crying? Like, there's no reason for you to be crying. And it's, you know, I didn't know why I was crying at the time while I was going through these like arguments with somebody, and you know, that's just my emotion trying to come out, and then being told that it wasn't valid because I had no reason to be feeling that way, to be feeling sad, like definitely weaned into my relationships.
Oh, it happened. It happened, you guys. The IKEA furniture broke. You probably heard the action unfold. If you're watching the video, you saw it, so lucky you. We'll just keep going. What's broken is broken. We'll try and fix it after. You know, that's what happens when you buy shitty furniture.
We're just settling in. We're just settling
We're just settling in. This is a good sign. This is a good sign. I'll take it as a, yeah.
Just grounding a little bit more.
Good omen.
Right, yeah. I was sleeping on the floor, didn't I? That's great.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't know if we're out where I left off, but emotions, men.
Yeah.
feeling them, talking about it. It's becoming clearer and clearer to me the deeper we go into this work together with you three, and you know, as a team, as I go into it myself, that it's taboo to talk about this. It's taboo to have this conversation, and let's make it not that way, because we are humans. We are to feel this, and we are allowed to talk about these emotions, because if we don't, it's going to lead to that statistic, which I believe you touched on it, is 80% of suicides.
That's the number.
Are men, and that's insane.
Unacceptable.
Like, what's happening? Where are we being pushed to get to this point? Like, why are men starting to feel so alone? And I think it really starts with having a community, having the the men in your life that you feel secure enough, like you three, to come to, like, hey, I'm feeling this way, I'm having these things going on. It's not even that like, oh, I'm really sad, or things aren't going well for me. It's just having a conversation around something, whether it's something so minuscule, to have men in your corner that can talk to you about that. So yeah, ultimately, like, finding that community and finding people you can trust in, to listen to you, and if you want like guidance or help through it, that's been my biggest thing, is doing that. So that's why having the Ice and Iron Men's immersion was really huge for me, and then us three hosting our own, like the impact that has. And from what I've heard from people who are like, they're not involved in it, but they see it, and they like, I've been told, like, I'm really proud of you for doing this because it's super important. Like, I see it, like, I know what's happening. And from my own personal experience, to that point, is just having a good group of guys like you to be around has been super helpful, especially with seeing, having two close friends take their own lives with, whatever, drew them to be there, hurts, and to feel it all the time. Well, not all the time. To be able to like tap into that feeling, and to not question it, but to understand like where it's coming from and how it is that speaking my own truth and with others that can help with that.
Hell yeah, Robster. Appreciate you, bro. Thank you for sharing. Mr. Zach?
Yeah, looking back at my journey, something that comes up is memories of growing up, being at home or even outside of home, and just situations where emotions in myself would come up as a child, and just reflecting on it, not knowing how to express my emotions, and then being punished for when I was expressing my emotions. And then usually after that, I would go by myself to my room to cry. And then that's like the memory that's coming up for me. It's like, wanting to express something, not knowing how to express it, being punished when I did express it, and then it's like the punishment is like, now you're going to be alone to sit with that. And I think that's the programming that I remember and that I'm actively releasing in my process. It's like, instead of going to my room or like putting myself in that situation of like, okay, now I'm going to be alone to express my emotions, it's now being able to be in a circle, like be with other men and be like, okay, this is what is happening, or this is what happened, or just being able to express sadness or express anger or express frustration, and really be honest about what's coming up in a space where it's like we all understand each other because we've been in that situation in the past or something similar. And that's so powerful, to just be witnessed in your story and to see the past. And then also what I see now, especially within lifted work, is see the past and also see that we can change in the present moment, and then moving forward and become better men, more connected with our emotions, so that we can, for us, like, we're young, but one day if we have children, it's like we can show our children and be an example for them, so that when they grow up, it's like, so we have, say we have boys, right? We can show them like, oh, this is how you can be a man, and like in a new way. It's like, take them with us, like show them like, this is what we're doing with our work, this is what we're creating, and be able to express like, this is something I want to share with you, like just having conversations and connecting. I think that's like what's coming up for me, is just being an example and embodying that example versus having to be like, oh, I need to teach my children. It's more like, no, I'm going to be the best version of myself, and through that I can share through my example also. So, so that's really something that's coming up for me in this moment.
Well said, brother. Way to be the change. It's fucking excellent. Vulnerability is so courageous, and it's so hard to go there when nobody that's in the elder position is showing you how that's done, right? And I assume most of us were in that position. It sounds like you were, right? Like you were in a position where you were facing some internal challenge emotionally and you needed to cry about it, but you were reprimanded for that behavior. So that instantly your mind's like, well, this isn't good. I shouldn't be doing this. So you had to go do it alone. So that's just so beautiful that you're here right now, and you've healed that, and you've healed, you've been able to make that change, and now moving forward, you've ended that cycle, you've ended that pattern. So beautiful. Thank you, brother.
Yeah, what's coming through for me is like really the topic around something I've discovered is like with the masculine and men, it's like we want to fix things and we want to fix problems. So it's a common tendency for people to like, when you do feel like you're in a place of struggle and you reach out to a brother or, you know, another man for like, it may seem like help in the way, but you're really just looking to be seen or just to express and stuff. And it's an immediate reaction for another man to project their want to fix the problem for you, which is like that space creates this like hierarchy of like, I'm, you know, this person wants to fix me and I'm, you know, not being seen to what I'm going through. And then that creates like a disconnect as well. And I think that for me, it's like it comes from, I think, a big Western culture of like the missing of initiations into manhood, which is like we do these things alone and we go through the struggle, but then there's the support of like knowing what that person went through in the struggle and stuff, and just to be like acknowledged in it. And for me, when I look back at my childhood and stuff, thinking of like emotional experiences, I was often comforted by my mom rather than my dad. So like it was the nurturing mother that was like very good and warm feeling at the time, except when I don't look for that in like men. And I think it's powerful because to be seen in that state by a man is more raw, and it's less about like being comforted and just being seen, and like, and then encouraged to like lean into it so that you can learn it and become stronger in whatever it is that you're going through. And so like that's a big disconnect that I see and feel in my life and like with others, is that like that lack of guidance from having like mentors from like the masculine side is like a big disconnect of just like the level of what, like when we were talking about like the men's version stuff, like things that you share with guys like biologically and like evolution, like you just can't, it's a big challenge for us to understand what women go through, because we, you know, biologically can't understand what they're thinking, the hormones in the body. Like same thing with men, it's like we can only share, and it's not like the situations necessarily that we have shared together. It's like, it's not that we all had heartbreak in the same exact way. We weren't with the same partner for this long and then had, you know, whether it was a falling out or like a cheating, you know, or like a break of loyalty or like whatever it is, but it's the feelings that we all get that we can relate to. And that's like having that understanding.
You touched on something and it brought something up for me. So like you mentioned that as children, and I agree with you. Like for me, like when I was sad, like mom's safe place, go. Like
Mom squad.
she's gonna hold you, she's gonna huddle you and everything. Do you find like, okay, with like men, you know, all three of you, like in your own life, do you find it that like, you know, maybe you or even men themselves, not that this is the problem, that, and we're not here to fix it, this is something that's just coming up, is that men are looking for women to quote unquote fix them, because growing up, that is, like, is that what's going on? Is that what could be a possibility of why, like, this is happening? Because, I don't know why, like, most women do it. Like, obviously, you can't ask somebody after things would happen, but it's like, is there becoming such a reliance on being loved by a woman that there's this narrative now that, like, if you're not loved by a woman, can that stem from like what we experienced? That was something that came up when you're talking about it. Like, is that what is going on?
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense because, like, as a child, we're just like absorbing, and like those are when the patterns set in. It's like that's what we're going to go to, and often even like in relations, like romantic relationships, like what your experiences with your parents are like a lot of what brings you to your attraction of your future partner and stuff. Whether it was like I forget where it was, but it was like strong levels of like discipline. If when you're a young child and you're disciplined by either your mother or your father, like whoever gives those first initial disciplines has like a big like relationship to how you seek partners in the future, and like so like that level of I do. I think that's would make a lot of sense.
Yeah, just a reflection of that. And like I have seen myself looking for validation in like women and like in old past relationships. Like for me, a love language is words of affirmation. Like I know that is something for me. So yeah, you bringing that up, I feel, because I've talked to a lot of like men that are single and had these conversations of being like, oh, if I just had a girlfriend, if I had someone to talk to, I'm like, dude, you've got someone to talk to. Like, I'm right here. It's like, I can't talk to you about the same things I could a girl. That, like, it's not true. I'm not gonna say that I directly, but a man is more likely to understand what you're going through with those feelings towards whatever that is, because we've been there. Like we have, like you said, that biological place to come from.
Nice. Yeah, in terms of how relations to parents and the paradigm of how it is we orient ourselves to our parents and how that relationship unfolds and how our parents treat us, I can reflect on my relationships and how I've attracted certain levels of codependence in my relationships based off of my relationship with my mother. My mother being someone that, incredible mother in so many ways. Single mother and doing the best she could, dealing with fucking 3 rambunctious, crazy children. I was a troublemaker. I wasn't like crazy off the walls, like, doing terrible crimes or anything like that. But, I definitely pushed the boundaries, as kids do, right? You're in that warrior archetype and you're seeing like what's possible in this reality, in this body, and so on. But I didn't really receive much discipline, and I wasn't told like how I needed to be or if I were to have gone out and partied or smoked some cannabis or done something that wasn't right. I wasn't really ever reprimanded that much for that. And my mom, she would show up and basically try to resolve the issue by coddling me. And I've noticed in my relationship with Beth that showed up. And interestingly enough, we've been able to like address it, thanks to this work and reading, and exploring certain information like The Journey to Co-Commitment by Gay Hendricks, and I forgot his wife's name, but just on the tip of reflecting on how our relationship to our parents can shape how we relate to our romantic partners and what kind of partners we call in, which is so interesting that it happens on an unconscious level, that we magnetize the type of individual we need to do to magnetize the type of opportunity we need to become more empowered and more free and more sovereign as men. So that was a very interesting tangent. Thank you, Rob. And one thing that comes up for me on the topic of mental health and men is insecurity. And like that shows up so much for me as a man, or has rather, and there's like ebbs and flows with it, and especially someone that's exploring their edges, right? Like we're putting ourselves out there, we're trying new things with the intention of growing and evolving and expanding and pushing our limits and really seeing what we can get out of this life. So it's like, just for me, reflecting on and I would love to do a discussion on insecurity and what showed up for you guys around that, how that showed up and how you felt about it and how you felt about yourself through the insecurity. And they're very interesting waters to navigate, and there's so many different flavors that it shows up in and so many different reasons why it shows up. But yeah, just reflecting on my trip, how much insecurity has showed up because and this is such a common thing for men, attaching your worth and your ability to be lovable to what you produce and what you create in the world and what you're doing professionally. And I don't know, maybe attaching it to how much income you bring in. And that's not been a specific issue for me, but being on my 3-month road venture that I've been on the past few months, I've noticed as I've slowed down on creating and really just gotten still, how much insecurity has shown up. And because, on a new endeavor into coaching, into personal development and serving people in health and wellness, I had some momentum. And then I went on the trip. I was like, you know what? I'm going to step away from creating. I'm going to slow down. That was my intention. Get clear. So much insecurity came up because I lost the momentum. And then you have the Enlifted experience on the horizon. I'm like, oh my God, I'm about to show up around a bunch of fucking killers that are just like slaying it. And this whole comparison thing comes up. So insecurity was coming up through that. And like, I just noticed how I wanted to cope and like avoid it and escape it. And like, ultimately, I know as an aware man that's there to illuminate something for me and to show me something. However, still, it's like these old tendencies and patterns of dealing with uncomfortability would show up. And it's just interesting. And a lot of the times, like, all I really needed to do was express it and like put it out all on the table and be seen in it. And like, also, come back to my inherent self-worthiness, which is really hard because most things about our society program us in a way to, where we place our worthiness on something outside of ourselves. So we outsource our power. So I feel many men, obviously including myself, as I just went through a little bit about my experience with it, go through this experience, and it's so hard to deal with. I think many men feel alone in that. Obviously, we're aware of this paradigm, but a man could be listening to this and be like, oh, like something's clicking there, and whoa, this is something I've experienced a lot. So I would be curious to hear what experiences you guys have had revolving around insecurity, how that showed up, how you've navigated it, what's helped you in moving through it, and remembering that like you're always lovable. You have nothing to prove. That's always the ego. It's always wanting to strive for more material and more outside of yourself. So yeah, if anyone wants to take the reins, and if anyone has something they're present with all that being said, would love to hear some reflections.
Yeah, I'd like to reflect on what you're sharing, Bill, and specifically on the first step, like where you're saying the insecurity. I'm learning more and more. It's like when that comes up, being able to be like honest about it. Like, okay, first, this is coming into my awareness, and what Ryan was saying too is like instead of looking to fix it right away, it's being with it, really fully being with, okay, I'm feeling this emotion. Where's this coming from? And then diving deeper into, okay, this is coming from, looking at the Enlifted work, like this is coming from a specific memory, a story, being able to identify it and go into it versus just instantly looking for, I need to fix this right now. Mm-hmm. Because that's a programming of from our past of, same for me, it's like I had this emotion and I need to fix this emotion, because if I don't fix this emotion, then I'm going to be lonely and by myself, and that's the worst case scenario. And it's like, what ifing that the worst case scenario, I'm insecure, I'm learning to not have a partner, or I'm going to be alone, no community, die by myself. Like,
right. Like worst case scenario,
Yeah,
catastrophe. It's a complete catastrophe. The world's ending.
Yeah.
It's over. Your nervous system's like signaling all that to you.
Oh wow, people are laughing at me.
Right? It's like worst ever.
Yeah. So, but I mean, it's like allowing that first to just be there, and then honoring that by I see it as giving myself the space to be like, this is coming up. I'm going to allow it and accept it and embrace it first to see where this is coming from. And as men, I see it as giving ourselves permission to access deep levels of emotional being. And the way I see it moving or shifting is looking at it from a place of values versus, okay, insecurity around like money or insecurity around profession. It's like, go back to what are the personal values that I want to embody. And then I realized like that's invaluable. It's priceless to embody something like embody love or to be an embodiment of peace or freedom. These things, integrity. It's understanding that I can come back to myself and be like, even if I had nothing, like like literally nothing, I'm in the jungle of them. Like I've been in the jungle them, but yeah, like, you know, having nothing, like literally, and feeling pure freedom, because I know within myself, like these are the values that I'm cultivating, and this, even if I didn't have anything, I have myself, I have my values, and I can love myself. I can cultivate practices that will allow me to, let's say, have the things, build things, though really it's not about the things that I build or the things that I create that define me. It's those values that I build within myself.
So good, brother.
And I can take those values across the world, anywhere. And you can land, let's say, the next, like tomorrow, you're like, I'm going to go to Australia. I just had this like insight, like I'm going to go to Australia. Well, you land in Australia, and with those values, you can just start again and, meet people, connect, serve, all these things. And it's independent of what you have. It's all within.
Dude, epic. Yeah, that's alchemy at its finest.
Can I pee with this thing?
Yeah, of course. I was taking a piss.
I was going to pick it up or not.
Some interference, some golden flow interference. Lucky y'all. Awesome. Dude, so beautiful. And yeah, remembering that, I love how you talk about embracing the emotion and being fully with it, and ultimately that looks different for everyone. And also remembering that everything is transitory, and emotions are transitory, and everything is impermanent, especially emotions and things that show up within us. And then something that's as rock solid as a value system, and like coming back to that remembrance of who I am. And this isn't me. This is something that's just coming through me, and it's showing up, and ultimately it's illuminating something for me to look at, whether it's, something from that, an old story, an old narrative that's showing up, an old impact. Like for me, the worthiness thing is hard, and I love bringing it up because almost everyone struggles with this to a certain degree, struggling with their inherent self-worth. And when I was in high school, I had, severe cystic acne all over my face, and all over my body for sure, all over the place and all over my face. But I had the narrative running that essentially I was like a useless piece of shit, and that like I was ugly and I was gross, and females won't like me. And to further perpetuate that narrative, I felt so much pressure on me to be attractive by the opposite sex and to lose my virginity and all these things. So these were things that were going through my mind and like drove me fucking crazy. But shit, I'm totally losing where, what I'm trying to get at, or where like I was going with all that. But that was something I was experiencing, and an insecurity an old narrative that propagated my ability to recognize my inherent self-worth, and things would trigger it in the present, in the now, throughout my life after that. So, Yeah, and yeah, I just loved everything you shared about grounding into your value systems and using that as a method of transmutation and alchemy outside, and to help you see that it is transitory and it's going to pass. And yeah, so I appreciate you sharing. Oh yeah, got anything, Ryan?
Yeah, I was really thinking about like when it comes to insecurities and the judgment and the shame that we put on ourselves, and we think that other people are thinking about us as like those things come up inside us, and whatever gets triggered is and it's, I feel, lands on the spectrum of masculine, is like the ownership of whatever it is that you're doing. Like when you feel insecure, and like how you own that insecurity, of like, that's what allows you to be like, for me, it's like, then you can take action. Like that's where the awareness is. Like once you're aware, it's like, oh, I feel really small right now thinking about this thing, and I don't want anybody to see me in this light. And as soon as you're aware of that, and then you're like, wait, this is me, and going back to those value systems of like, okay, this is who I am right now, fuck it, like I'm gonna move through this is what it is, and there's opportunity there. Then like once you have ownership of that insecurity, then you're empowered to be able to have the choice of like, okay, is this the story that I'm gonna continue to have and let roll around in me? And then that's where like having men where you can go to this and just express these insecurities, and without the thought process that's like, okay, if I say this, they're gonna be like, no, dude, they're gonna deny my validation of it, and be like, no, dude, you're worth love. And it's like, okay, like I know that in a way, but that's not the way I'm feeling, and it's like, but like having the ownership and then sharing that, it's like whatever you're resistant around and thinking that you're gonna get judgment, sharing the ownership to somebody, and specifically other men, because they share these similar values as you, is like, that's where like the next level of accountability can come in, like owning whatever you're most vulnerable with, and then having brothers and other dudes to be like, just help keep you accountable. It's like, well, what are you going to do about it? When is it gonna, how long are you going to let it keep happening? If you're going to continue to feel small, like know that that's your choice. And like around insecurities, like, and that's for me with like tobacco and stuff. Like I went years without smoking tobacco, and then I slowly started to like use it again in different ways. And for a long time I was like insecure of using it around people, because I felt that like I had failed at like something along the way and was going back in old patterns. And then once I decided that like it's just another part of my process, like what else is coming up? Like why am I smoking tobacco this time? What is where am I numbing out with this? And like owning that and be like, okay, like tobacco is in my life right now. It released the pressure to like feel like I had to do something about it, rather than like making the choice of like knowing what I want to do with it, and like what is it, how can I choose to let this be a lesson and like vulnerability and stuff, and like what else is going to come through about it. But I think ownership is like, and then that goes in with acceptance. Like you can own it and you can accept it, and then it's not that big of a deal anymore. Like you're instead of letting the insecurity make you feel small, like now you're minimizing the insecurity, because you're able to make that choice and be like, yep, this is where it's at right now. This is part of the path, and then you can choose what direction to go from there, and it's all okay.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, and just to, take a look at how Enlifted can serve us in a challenging emotional experience, something that was coming through while you're sharing about ownership and how that can be of service to an individual when navigating some murky waters, is how so many people, and I did this until I got into the language stuff, unconsciously identify themselves as something they're experiencing, which is transitory and impermanent. Like I mentioned, emotions come and go. They always will. You are not angry. You are not depressed. You are not anxious. You are not, all the various things one human being could experience. You are currently experiencing that thing. You are not that thing. Write this down, my friends. Write this shit down. If say something comes up, you're sad. You say you're sad. Write that down. I am sad. And then you can make the translation to I am experiencing sadness. And then you could add I am currently experiencing sadness, which places it in the temporal realm because it is a thing that will move on, that will move through you, and that will resolve itself, whether you do something about it or not. But that simple trick alone will signal to your subconscious mind that it is a thing that is impermanent versus a thing that you are, and recognizing the importance of the language when it comes to how you are articulating whatever the current experience around the emotion is, however it's coming through, however it's showing up. Just like a very simple to ground it in practicality for if you're, going through something tough emotionally. And if it doesn't help, that's fine. But it is helping because it's signaling the truth to your body. And then from there, you could use positively affirming statements, whatever you want to do. I am this, I am that, I am love, I am freedom, I am sovereign, I am capable of doing this thing, I am my success plan, whatever it may be. So just in the spirit of Enlifted, because we're out here for the Enlifted experience. Rob, was there anything there for you in terms of insecurity?
The thing that came up for me really is just accepting it, like accepting that you have this feeling of insecurity and that it's okay to have it. That's really all that is coming up for me. Like any personal experience isn't coming through that I've had with it, but you're not defined. You're not defined by your insecurities. You're it's natural to have them and to feel that way. It's how are you going to move through it? Are you going to allow it to push you down and let you sit at home and not do anything because you're so insecure of we'll go back to yours, the way you look, is that going to stop you from pursuing the love of your life because you're that insecure, or is it something that you can sit with and be like, okay, this is what I'm insecure with. I'm okay with this happening because I know it's currently happening and I have felt out of this before. So I just feel like that's a important part for that. There's nothing like a full experience of my own that's came through for it.
Something that came up for me, I was reflecting, and the first thing was Eminem in 8 Mile, that final scene where he literally tells he's just letting it all out, this is what happened, this is my past, all the things that are his wounds and the darkness, the shadows, all the things that happened in the past. He's he just lets it all out, and he's I accept it. I'm going to actually make a whole rap about this because I accept this, and there's nothing that anyone else can use against me now because I've fully accepted all these things. So what are you going to do? What's the world going to do now? I've accepted this. So through the acceptance is a lot of freedom to just be okay, yeah, this all happened. Yeah. And in this moment, I would say additionally, I like to include forgiveness. It's I forgive myself. I let go of the past. It's no longer having hold on me. And after forgiving myself, then comes well, I have a lot more freedom to see where I'm going to go in the future. Independent of what happened in the past, I still have all the space and time to now create my future, to change things. And And through that, it's like that natural process of like, yeah, this is happening. I accept it. I let it go through forgiveness. And now I'm going to start to flow into new pathways. So that's something that's coming up for me.
Absolutely. The acceptance of forgiveness is huge. And it reminds me of the Ho'oponopono prayer, I believe it is. It's a Hawaiian prayer. Thank you. I love you. I'm sorry. I forgive you. Thank you. I'm sorry. I love you. I forgive you.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I don't think the arrangement matters, or does it?
Well, I like I'm sorry because it's I'm sorry first is like, okay, saying that to yourself or to a person like I'm sorry, I forgive you or I forgive myself, and then thank you, I love you, or I love you, thank you. But really, those first two components really feel for myself. It feels like the natural order is like to feel it like to be in the sorriness, like I'm sorry, like well, like at a men's immersion in the past, we did an exercise like that. It was really powerful just to say those words first, just with I'm sorry, and like repeating it to feel it all the way, like to feel the sadness of I'm sorry, and then I forgive you. And then it was really powerful to like look other men in the face, like looking eye to eye and just say that like, I'm sorry. And then naturally what came up was like, my dad or my older brother, and being able to just look that person in the eye and just be like, imagine like that's my dad or that's my older brother. And I'm saying, I'm sorry to them. And I forgive you. And having that space is really important. So healing.
Absolutely, yeah. Codes and spells for freedom and liberation on so many levels. And yeah, it's just a short, simple amalgamation of words we all know. So I definitely encourage anyone listening to try that out and feel into that. And with that being said, I'll put a bow on this one with saying this. If you're listening to this, sister or brother, you have some brothers right here that would absolutely be interested in having a conversation and holding space for you. If there's something you're going through, if things are really fucking hard, if you feel alone, you're definitely not alone. We are here, and we are here to accept and see you fully and support you fully in terms of where you at. Definitely shoot any of us a message. I'll speak for myself. I'm sure I can speak for all of you guys as well, that we mean that, and that's our work, and we'll continue to do that work. So I'm incredibly grateful to have had this conversation with some Awakened Kings. My first four-way, their first four-way. Let's fucking go. We're about to go into the Enlifted experience tonight. This was such a pleasure and honor to do this with you all. I'm just going to pass it around after I, close out with these last few words. You can find me on Instagram at Wild Bill Wellness. Like I said, feel free to message me at any time. Would love to talk to you. Would love to hold space and be of support in the ways that I can. If you guys want to, share anything, any last things that are present, plug anything that you're working on, and share where people can find you, we'll finish it out there. Robster, get in there.
Keep passing it off to me right away. I wanted to ask you guys all this one thing too, you can do this as a takeaway. What's one simple thing that anybody listening can do to, if they are in, you are a man and you are starting to feel like you're slipping away from yourself, and you are starting to get these thoughts of, potentially taking your own life, because that, to me, that's what's really big on this conversation. And for me, I would say that the easiest thing to do is, it's said a lot, and is reach out to me, reach out to Bill, reach out to Zach, reach out to Ryan, because you do have brothers. And I would say the easiest one thing you can do is get a group of dudes that are gonna support you and not belittle you for feeling that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you want to contact me, it's at The Conscious Welder. Currently working with men in the blue collar industry, because I see a lot of lot of destruction in there, especially in the mental game. The health styles haven't always been the greatest. I'm living proof that we can change that, and so is Ryan. So, yeah, I'm gonna hop on that blue collar journey with me.
Yeah, I'll say one thing on that tip, then I'll pass to Zach. If you think that, and I don't know about you guys personally, but say you're in a place of experiencing suicidal ideation, if you think that, these guys couldn't relate, like they've never been there. I have been there. I've been in my body, so uncomfortable with being in my body, I've wanted to take my own life. I have the support system I need. I have the tools I need to navigate out of that, and that's not something that occurs for me or has occurred for me in a while. There's one episode this year, which I was fine. Got the help I needed. I'm all good. Intrusive thoughts. It's not me. It was something I was currently experiencing. I worked through it. I can relate. So just to throw that out there for anyone that may be having that narrative in their head. And yeah, so off to Zach.
Yeah, and, just answering that question. The first thing I would say is remember we all have this thing. It's called the breath. So remember to breathe first. And when everything's out of order, when you feel everything's in chaos, breathe. And the next step will reveal itself. That can be so grounding. It's just to remember, like, I can breathe, and allowing yourself to feel also. And then from there, I would say I see also values. So write down, say you're uncomfortable with how you're feeling in this moment, emotions are coming up, things are coming up in your life. Write down, just get a piece of paper, write down values that you want to embody, that you want to, you see yourself becoming in the future, because that can be just like an easy guide for yourself to see the next step. But yeah, I'm super grateful for this space and to be here, to have this conversation, to flow with you brothers, and yeah, it's beautiful. We're doing something that we'll look back and say, like, wow, we did something amazing over the last year, or 5 years, like if we just keep going. And really just grateful for this space, this opportunity, and anyone that wants to find me and connect with me, Zach Barney, my ZACH BARNEY, like the dinosaur. LM. So yeah, reach out, let's connect. I would love to dive into some conversation and flow. So
Thank you, brother.
I hope.
Yeah, super grateful to be here and share this space and have this conversation just openly and honestly, and I'll keep it a little shorter too. Like we're all here, whatever it is, we're all open to just be reflections, and I know that you're worthwhile, whoever you are, like you're worth it, big time. And one thing that I heard this year that really hit me is, like, the opposite of addiction is connection, so whatever you're going through, connection is the answer in some way, shape, or form. That's what I believe is the root to many things, is the seeking for a different level of connection. So you can reach out to me at Soul Mountain Coach, soul.mountain coaching on Instagram, and or my podcast, Summit to Soul Mountain, as well. Actually, I'm excited. This will be my I'll be on 3 of Bill's podcasts now. Now that he's rebranded again.
There's gonna be more too. We got more coming, that's for sure. We just got started. Awesome. This is so much fun, guys. Thank you so much. We covered a lot of ground, and if you're listening and you found value, please share with a friend. Please leave a rating on Spotify. Please subscribe on YouTube. And yeah, we're here, like we said, and we will see you next time. Smooches.